I heard the pop before the lights died. It was sharp, like a firecracker under glass, and then silence. The kind of silence that swallows everything. My fridge gave one last heroic hum before it quit, and the house just stopped breathing. When I looked out the window, I saw her. Karen. Of course it was Karen. She was standing under the utility pole holding a pair of garden shears like she'd just performed open-heart surgery on my power line. The wire dangled severed clean sparks fading in the morning air, and when she saw me staring at her through the window, she waved, with the scissors still in her hand. I stepped outside slowly because people like her feed on drama, and I wasn't about to give her a feast. "Morning," she said brightly. "You'll thank me later. That line was illegal. Illegal. The same line installed by the power company." "It's an eyesore," she snapped, "and technically it crosses HOA property." My jaw clenched. The same HOA she ruled like a queen with a clipboard. Her yellow sundress fluttered while she lectured me about community safety, standing right beside her shiny Tesla plugged into the shared outlet we'd agreed on years ago. I looked at the cable dead. Her Tesla beeped, then went dark. The look on her face when she realized she'd killed her own charging station. Priceless. The power company confirmed what I already knew: she'd cut a live service line, a federal offense. The technician said, "That's not HOA business, sir. That's tampering with utility infrastructure." When he asked if I wanted to press charges, I hesitated. Part of me wanted to, but I thought maybe humiliation would be enough. I was wrong. Because Karen didn't just crave control, she was addicted to it. A week later, a bright orange notice appeared on my door. Unauthorized electrical modification. Fine $3,000. Signed by Karen herself. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my coffee. The nerve. She damages my property and then fines me for fixing it. At that point, I decided to confront her at the HOA meeting. The clubhouse looked like a courtroom with folding chairs. Karen sat at the head of the table, her two loyal followers beside her like bodyguards. "We're here," she said to address a serious violation. I stood calm. "The county and power company repaired the damage your board caused," I said, holding up documents. "Everything was approved." She smiled, that fake politician smile. "And yet you failed to notify us." Before I could answer, a voice came from the back of the room. My wife, Lisa, deputy chief of the county sheriff's department. "Actually, she said that fine's invalid under county law. The HOA doesn't override safety orders. You could have heard a pin drop." Karen's face went red, then white. "This is a private meeting," she stammered. "You're out of order." Lisa folded her arms. "I live here too, ma'am." Karen adjourned the meeting early, muttering something about legal consultation, but I saw the fury boiling behind her eyes. After that, things got strange. Petty, even. Anonymous complaints to the city about my wiring. Random inspections. Someone tampered with my mailbox. And one night around midnight, my security cameras caught movement near the fence. A flashlight beam. A shadow crouched by the junction box. I zoomed in, and there she was. Gloves, raincoat, cutters. Karen was back for round 2. I slipped onto the porch phone recording. "Evening, Karen," I said. She jumped like she'd seen a ghost. There was a spark. She stammered, "I came to check for safety." I raised an eyebrow. With wire cutters, she straightened her blazer defiant. "You're making a big mistake, Mr. Reed. The HOA doesn't forget." She stormed off, heels clicking. I wanted to call the sheriff right then, but Lisa said not yet. Let her dig her own grave. 2 days later, she started installing solar panels on her roof without a permit. Her way of one-upping me. By sunset, the panels looked like a science fair disaster, crooked cables hanging everywhere, inverter box tilted. Neighbors started whispering. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Within a day, 10 residents filed complaints against her. At the next emergency HOA meeting, her own allies turned on her. "You didn't get approval," one said. "It's my property," Karen snapped, "and I'm the president." "Not anymore," another replied quietly. They fined her for unauthorized construction. Afterward, she cornered me in the parking lot, eyes blazing. "You think you've won? You humiliated me in front of everyone. You did that yourself, I said. You'll regret this, she hissed. The HOA has more power than you realize. I smiled. And less than you think. That night a storm rolled in. Thunder, wind the works. Around midnight I heard a sharp crack outside followed by another blackout. Half the block went dark. Turns out her cheap solar setup had overloaded frying her inverter and the neighborhood transformer. The fire department showed up at dawn shaking their heads. Who wired this? One of them asked. I didn't answer. I just watched as Karen stood in the rain bathrobe staring at the scorched siding of her house. Her Tesla sat dead in the driveway again. Poetic symmetry. You'd think that would have been the end. But people like Karen don't stop when they lose, they escalate. A week later, I got a certified letter, civil suit pending. Karen Reynolds versus Marcus Reed. She was suing me for defamation and emotional distress. The HOA meeting that followed was chaos. Karen showed up in a Navy power suit, voice shaking with righteous fury. Mr. Reed has publicly humiliated me, she said. His illegal system caused community damage. One of her allies snorted. Karen, the county confirmed your solar rig caused the outage. The room erupted in laughter. She tried to regain control, raising her voice, but even the board had turned against her. By the time it ended, she was shaking, muttering, "You'll all regret this." 3 days later, a lien notice appeared against my property claiming I owed $18,000 in shared infrastructure repair. Lisa read it once and said she forged this. We drove straight to the county clerk with every photo, email, and document since the beginning. The clerk looked through it and said, "She's done. This is filing abuse and fraud." They nullified the lien, opened an investigation, and alerted the HOA's insurer. Within a week, the board voted to suspend Karen as president pending investigation. Her power gone. That night, I heard shouting from across the street. Her husband's voice angry, the sound of a door slamming, then tires screeching away. For the first time in months, her house went completely dark. I thought maybe that was the end of it, but a few days later she showed up in my driveway. Calm. Too calm. "Good morning, Marcus," she said sweetly. "I wanted to apologize for everything. It's been stressful. I didn't buy it for a second." "I brought a settlement," she added, holding out a folded document. Lisa read it and said flatly, "This isn't a settlement, it's blackmail." Karen just smiled. "Call it what you want. I just want peace." Then she leaned in. "I've got something better planned now." That night at 2:30 a.m., motion lights blinked on. The cameras were down. The Wi-Fi was dead. She'd cut the feed. I grabbed a flashlight and my old baseball bat. Lisa grabbed her badge. We moved quietly onto the porch. There by the fence was Karen crouched in a yellow raincoat, hands on the junction box. "Karen," I said sharply, "you planning to finish the job this time?" She looked up, eyes wild. "You can't stop me," she hissed. "You've been feeding illegal power back to the grid. I'm doing what the HOA should have done months ago." Lisa's voice came low and steady. Karen put the cutters down. Karen turned, sneering. "Oh, it's you again, Mrs. Sheriff. Gonna arrest me for caring." Lisa took a step forward. "Touch that line and it's felony vandalism." Karen's hand trembled. She wanted control so badly she'd risk her life for it. Then she lunged. The world exploded in blue light. Sparks leapt from the fence, searing the night. Karen screamed, collapsing backward into the mud. The power tripped, plunging the street into darkness. I rushed over. She was breathing, burned, but alive. Paramedics came, neighbors spilled out phones recording. The woman who'd spent a year policing everyone else's property had nearly electrocuted herself trespassing on mine. By sunrise, the HOA chat groups were on fire. Solar, Karen electrocutes herself, the posts read. The sheriff's department launched a full investigation. Lisa recused herself too close to the case, but the evidence was overwhelming. And still, Karen sent a cease and desist letter from her hospital bed accusing me of emotional sabotage. That was when I realized the only way to end it was through her favorite weapon, paperwork. I gave the new HOA board every document I had. The audit that followed exposed everything: embezzled funds, fake landscaping invoices, even reimbursements for her Tesla charger upgrades. The insurance company revoked her coverage. The HOA expelled her permanently. When she came home weeks later, arm in a sling, her yard dead and mailbox overflowing, she didn't look at anyone. Just stood there staring at my house across the street. I waved once. She didn't wave back. A few days later, a UPS box arrived on my porch. No return address. Inside was an orange extension cord and a note. "Let's reconnect. Kay." Lisa looked at it and said, "That's not an apology, that's a threat." The sheriff agreed. They issued a restraining order. 2 nights later, police cruisers pulled up to her house. She yelled something about injustice as they cuffed her and led her away. When the car passed my driveway, she turned her head just enough for me to see her eyes still burning, still certain she was the victim. I wish I could say that was the end. But the truth, people like Karen never really stop. They just run out of power for a while. Lesson learned. Some people don't crave peace, they crave control, and they'll burn everything around them just to prove they still have it.